All right, and here we are for another episode of the Slack Doctors. I am Dr. Chip.
I am Dr. Bob.
And we do not have a guest today, but don't let that keep you from calling us at 904-549-9026. Is that right? Is that the right number?
9024.
9024. There we go. I was like, yeah, is that the right number or not? That was close.
Yep, 904-549-9024.
Yes, we need to pound it in everybody's memory so that I can remember it. But yeah, anyway, do you got any news nuggets?
I do, but let's get a little rough trip down today.
Yeah, first of all, it's freaking hot today. It's like way too hot for me to have to get off the bike and make a phone call and worry about getting here on time. But yeah, that,
Yeah, I was like,
I
you'd always call you an Uber or something, but you just have to leave the bike where it is. That's not cool.
Yeah, no, that would have sucked. No, it's just one of those things. I just like an idiot tried to take off in like second gear or something and stalled it. And I guess it was just too hot and it was doing the old, and I was like, uh-oh, here we go. But sure enough, I mean, I didn't even as you witnessed, I didn't even wait like 2 minutes, threw it in neutral and it started right up. So it's just got to cool off for a second or something. But yeah, I got a love-hate relationship with that motorcycle, which is funny because I think I've just realized that my other motorcycle makes my back hurt if I ride the thing too long.
Which one were you on today? Which one you got?
The Beamer. I had the Beamer today because that one's more comfortable to ride. Your feet are underneath you instead of out front of you. But yeah, I've been riding the other bike too much, man. I couldn't figure out why my back was hurting me so bad, and I think that's it.
It's funny. It's funny that you would say that it's more comfortable for you to ride in that position as opposed to the cruiser with your feet out in front of you. Because I always felt the opposite. That's why that's why I had the Virago and the Boulevard, because I liked putting my feet kind of out in front of me a little. More comfortable that way.
Well, what it does is it takes away your ability to absorb any shock with your legs. You're taking all the shock right in your spine. If you got your legs under you like a dirt bike, when you're riding a dirt bike out on the, you don't even, your ass isn't even on the seat. You're, riding on your shocks, your legs, So yeah, I'd like.
Yeah, well, that Boulevard had pretty good suspension though, and a nice big old padded seat. So it was, I don't know.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just a matter of the positioning of being like with your legs out in front of you or having them directly under you where they can absorb the shock of. And look, I'm not a big fan of, like on the sport bikes that your feet end up way behind you, in the rear sets. I'm not a big fan of that either. Because that ends up, you end up with sore wrists from, basically you're planking at that point on a motorcycle. You're just,
right.
You're not even.
Have you ever noticed the parallel between the horseback riding and motorcycle riding and the positions?
Oh yeah.
Basically a sport bike is basically the way a jockey rides a horse, and a cruiser is kind of the way a cowboy rides a horse, sitting more straight up.
Good point.
Feet straight down in the stirrups, whereas a jockey is hunched over the back of the horse, i.e. the tank of the bike, and, springing, bouncing on their knees to get a higher speed. So,
well, not only that,
I thought that was
also motorcycles and horses always getting on from the left side. You don't get on a horse from the right side.
Yeah,
always get on from the left side.
Do you think that's because most people are just right-handed and it's more natural to swing your right leg over than to swing your left leg over?
I always just assumed that the reason it was that way on the motorcycles is because it just carried over from the horses. Because you always, for whatever reason.
Why would it be that way with horses? I mean, why?
That I don't know.
Do the horse get nervous from one side or the other if you approach them? That doesn't seem to make any sense. But I would bet it's from the whole left, being right-handed. Which would beg the question, do left-handed people mount motorcycles backwards? Do they swing their left leg over just unconsciously?
Well, they'd have to get on from the other side.
Yeah, well then, but another reason too is aren't all side kickstands on the left?
Yeah.
Yes. So.
Yeah, but unless you're on a center stand, yeah. But then the other thing is most of the time the exhaust is always on the right. So, getting on from the right side, you're always risking, burning your leg on the exhaust.
That's true. So then I wonder if anybody should consider, maybe aftermarketing or whatever, but making bikes for left-handed people with the exhaust on the other side, kickstand on the right.
That's a pretty niche market right there.
You could even swap the throttle out so that it would be on your predominant hand with the
Oh, that
throttle
would
on
be
the left.
dangerous, dude. That would be
Right?
dangerous to
Well,
people
I mean,
yeah, you'd have to learn how to ride
you could
that
never
way.
let anybody drive it. Yeah, you could never let anybody ride it. And
You'd have to learn
well,
that way.
I was going to say you could never let anybody valet it, but that's not a thing anyway. I've never. When I had my bikes, I can't ever remember any valet willing to go park it for you.
Dude, I doubt
you basically just pull up and park right there and walk away, and there's
I've been
nothing they can
thinking
do.
about trying to valet my Jeep lately because I don't think any one of those guys would want to drive that either. I drove up with my Jeep, like a stick shift lifted Jeep. Like, you sure you want to drive this?
Right.
You want to just tell me where to park it? You know. Yeah.
I wonder if they valet Cybertrucks.
Probably. You could probably just do it on their. They probably do it on their smartphone. Go to this spot. You know. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway. All right. So we should probably talk about the comments we got since that's why we're
Oh yeah, we did get some. Yeah. Well, hang on, I got to put on the old goggles for this one so I can see the TV in the background. So the comments were on one of our shorts,
right?
And the short was entitled "What is ICE doing?"
Right.
Where we were talking about what it seems like is going on. So we've got our. Let's see. Our top comment was from a gentleman named Matthew Wanspach. 4194. They all must go. Essentially, all of the comments were very much in support of ICE, in support of full deep. Yeah,
okay, they all must go. That's great. What's the next one?
No, get rid of every single non-social security holding illegal fuck that came into this country over the last 6 years.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there.
Yeah,
that one. All I hear is a really, really sad libtard that's saying, only want my socialist, loving government to pay the people I want. You can't pay the people I don't want to pay. It's only going to be people, So yeah, the Social Security. This is a great debate. I have people all the time. They're like, "Oh, we're not a socialist country." Well, explain Social Security. It says it right in the title. We're socialists, And I'll be the first to admit I'm just signed up for it. I'm going to take the money. If they're handing it out, I'm taking it. But it's socialism. Let's say what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: how do illegal people get Social Security numbers?
Well, see, that's that I don't know, and I was going to bring that up after we get through all the comments, but I do have a point to make about
one
that.
at a time. That's okay, that's the
so,
issue. How the hell does an illegal alien get a Social Security number?
I don't know, but what I was going to say is, it seems like most people's issue with illegal aliens is them using government resources. What if they were not deported, but simply cut off from, a pure bootstraps? Like you have to, if you don't get a job, then you starve to death, or you have to leave the country, or you know what I mean? Some brutal, where there's literally no.
Well, here's the thing:
no government assistance whatsoever. Then would people, because they're still, if nothing else, they're still paying sales tax every time they buy something.
I was going to say, if you're an illegal alien, you can't get any assistance. You're illegal. You can't sign up for stuff. You're illegal. You get deported. You can't. That's not how it works. So yeah,
and I guess another big argument I hear too is that a lot of and this was specifically directed, I guess, in the Minnesota Somalia situation or whatever, that the vast majority of the money that they do get, or that some of these immigrants get, they just send back to Somalia. So the money literally just leaves the country entirely.
Totally, legit beef. And yes, so you shouldn't have elected Tim Walz, I guess. Then I don't know what to tell them, the people of Minnesota. Tim Walz was a huge mistake. I wouldn't elect any more liberals.
It'd be one thing if the money they were sending back was money that they had gained through some sort of actual enterprise. But if the money they're sending back is money that they were given in the form of a check from our government, then yes, that is, I can see how that's an issue.
Of course it is. But my issue is, why is the government giving anybody any money? That's not what they're for. That's not what the government's for. Shouldn't be giving anyone any money. Anyway. All right. So what other comments are there?
Okay. So the next one is from Wilford Electric. 5% are violent. 100% broke the law and are here illegally.
Well, yeah, if you're an illegal alien, you are, in fact, here illegally. But I would beg, like many times when people start crying about crime, show me the victim. I mean, sure, if people are here illegally and they create a victim, I'm all for deporting them, putting them in jail, put them in front of a damn firing squad. I don't care, but you got to show me a victim. If somebody comes here and they're illegal and all they do is work their ass off, pay their taxes, and don't hurt anybody, what's the big deal? Who cares? Anyway, next.
All right, we got one. Well, next is the last one. All right. So this is from Real Meme 06V. The reason is that you don't care and only like to complain until someone close to you dies to an illegal prick roaming freely on our tax money. And that goes right back to what you just said.
Well, here's my question for that one. How many people do you know that have ever died to an illegal alien?
Personally, I do not know anyone.
Me neither.
I don't.
You know, the only person I even know of that has died recently was a victim of Anthony Fauci. And he's a completely illegal American citizen. And you know who I'm talking about. That's the only person I know that was killed by anybody, by anything. You know who I'm talking about, Tracy, right? The guy, our friend.
Wasn't the chick in Charlotte, the Ukrainian girl that was killed? Wasn't she killed was the guy that killed her an illegal immigrant, or was he just?
I don't know.
Kind of mentally disturbed. I can't
know.
Remember now.
I mean, if you're mentally disturbed, what does it matter where you're from? Your wacko shouldn't be walking the streets anyway. So yeah, I mean, look, if somebody you know and loved was killed by an illegal alien, that's horrible. They should go to jail. They should be shot, electrocuted, whatever. They should be held down, and you should waterboard them, whatever you want. But to take it out on the people that didn't do anything is kind of silly. So what are you going to do? It's just silly. So speaking of crazy people, wanted to talk about the Bondi attack.
Nice segue.
Right. The whole, at first it was like, oh, okay, another shooting, but there's just so many aspects of this now that are making me going, okay, this is obviously completely staged. All right, first of all, they're trying to frame this as that these guys are Islamic terrorists. All right. And despite the fact that Australia is now recognizing Palestine, which you would think would make somebody like that very happy, right? Isn't that what they want? That would be like, hey, let's celebrate. And so they're trying to convince us their method of celebration was to go out and shoot a bunch of people. And it's
I can't remember the podcast that I saw, but I heard somebody talking about the fact that, and again, I don't know if this is true, but if it is, pretty odd that the Mossad was helping or assisting the Australian government in investigating this incident.
Well, let me ask you,
boots on the ground actually there. Like why would a foreign government be jumping in like that immediately to help you investigate?
And even glaringly more obviously, what the fuck is how does a country with the strictest gun laws on the planet only let Islamic terrorists have legal guns? That makes absolutely no sense. So somebody's going to have to try and show me the paperwork where these guys filled it out paperwork going, yes, we Allah Akbar. And here's the other thing. There's one of them still alive. He's still alive. He's in the hospital. Have you ever heard?
Son?
Yeah. Have you heard anything from him? I mean,
No.
Here's the thing. Not even, I mean, he may be in a coma or something. I don't know. Maybe he can't be interviewed. But look, is this another Thomas Crooks? Did he have no internet presence at all? You can't dig up one thing off his Facebook page of him going Allah Akbar or something to at least, back up your claim that this guy's an Islamic. I mean, the whole thing is just so shady. It's just like, come on, guys. It's like, this is 2025. This shit don't work anymore. It's just, it's gotten to, it's crazy. It's crazy. Speaking of which, speaking of crazy, you know what? You know when this episode's probably going to come out, right? Right around Christmas. So
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it should be in about 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks to Christmas, and it's just too damn hot to be 2 weeks to Christmas. But anyway, so you're going up to the land of snow and ice and all that stuff for the Christmas. Now, are there any kids involved in your Christmas up there?
Probably. I'll probably see a couple of them. Yeah.
Okay.
We got a couple of grandkids.
Right. I was going to say, because somebody was saying something to me about Christmas, and I was like, I could care less about Christmas. I don't have any kids. I'm not around any kids. I'm not religious. The whole thing is just like, like I got a Christmas card from my dad and his chick, and it's like them and their, his chick's grandkids, and even those kids are like in college now. So it's like, what's with the Christmas stuff? I just it just seems
it's been years since I bought an adult a Christmas present.
Right. Are you and Heather going to exchange presents, or just you have an arrangement?
No.
Yeah.
An arrangement of not. Yeah, exactly. Just get stuff for the little kids. That's all.
Yeah. It's just such a it's just such a child-driven.
I might buy something for the dog.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Consider the dog kind of
dogs
like a
and
kid,
children,
but,
about the same category.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's just such a children-centric holiday that when you see adults getting too into it, you're like, it reminds me of what's his name, Will Ferrell from Elf. It's like, just calm down. Yeah. Anyway, so another thing I wanted to talk about, and this is, I thought about I'm trying to talk you into writing a book, right? And this is a subject I think you could might inspire you to write a book, and that's the fact that our language is always constantly evolving, right?
Yes.
Our language is always changing. They got to change, dictionary like every year. New words come in, so others get. So it seems to me the whole English language is due for an update of like making everything much easier. Like, let's get rid of I before E except after C, or whatever that shit is. I never get when I'm typing stuff on the computer, I never get IE right. No matter which way I do it, it's always wrong the first time. I got to go back and change it, with spell correct or whatever. So, I mean, like, and another perfect example is like, all right, so the kids are using the word sus. You know what that means, right?
Yes. Suspicious.
Right. So I think that's brilliant. Why waste 3 syllables? I mean, it's not like you're going to get that confused with another short word. You know what I mean? Instead of
no, that's a good example of one where because sus, other than an abbreviation for suspicious, doesn't have any other meaning.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean,
there's no other word that's spelled that way. So yeah,
I think there's room all over the English language for that kind of application, all over it. And I think you should write a book about it.
Well, it is a slow process. And one of the reasons it's always been a slow process is because most learned people of letters, fight staunchly against that. In fact, you'll often hear people say the bastardization of the English language, when in reality, it's an ongoing process. Like you said, that's always been going on. If you look back at, even reading original Shakespeare in the way it was written there, it's almost impossible to understand at this point.
Oh yeah.
And that's an interesting question. I just saw a video that related to that subject. It was about the storage of nuclear waste, right? And the symbols and the iconography that they are attempting to come up with to warn people in, say, 1,000 years or 2,000 years that might stumble across these sites that this is dangerous, And part of the point of the video was the fact that there's no language you can use. You can't rely on that because it will change so much by that time that it'll be completely indecipherable. And the problem is, how do you make something look dangerous without also making it look interesting and enticing? Where future archaeologists are going to see it. And instead of thinking, well, we shouldn't even go there, they're going to think, oh, we got to figure out what that is. You think about the pharaohs and the Egyptians that wrote literal curses on the outsides of the tombs, but it didn't stop anybody from wanting to see what was inside of there,
Even if you could understand the curse, like we look at it and we're like, I wonder what that says,
Even iconography that you would think is universal, like a human skull or the skull and crossbones. Right. It can also be misinterpreted as a pirate, It does have other meaning.
That's true. Now it does, yeah. Well, there's one thing.
Or treasure even.
Right. Well, I know there's one thing that's certainly not dangerous and it's quite enticing is calling us at 904-549-2094.
9024.
9024. There you go. Yep. Yeah.
Getting it worked in there, getting used to it. Yep.
Well, yeah, we got that, dude. That's if you remember. I mean, the Love Doctors used to pump that number out all the time. I can almost remember it, but yeah, they used to. Pump
it was something 567-8989. I think was their number.
Ryan's over there holding the paper. Okay. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about Venezuela. This is getting a little crazy. All right. So first of all, it's funny. I watch a lot of stuff about history, and the parallels between us now and like pre World War II and World War II Germany is just crazy. I mean, literally, I look at Nick Fuentes and I'm like, that's a young little Hitler. He could be a little Hitler. I mean, if that guy ever got into power and got his way, that guy could
Yeah.
be very dangerous. And the problem is,
History,
he's right.
history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme.
Yeah, yeah, right. And the problem is when he talks, it's like, yeah, the kid's right. I mean, he's definitely he's racist, a Nazi, and he'll tell you he is. But the kid's right about what the stuff he's talking about. He ain't wrong. Anyway, so the point being that Venezuela is basically going to be our Barbarossa. You know what Operation Barbarossa was?
Remind me.
Well, it's
I
basically
know the name, and I'm sure once you tell me it.
Hitler was winning the war. Hitler was winning the war. He was going to win the war. Then they attacked Russia. They thought Russia was going to be like France. They thought they were going to be able to just roll through Russia and take it over in a couple of weeks, and that was going to be it. That's why Hitler lost the Second World War. Russia beat Germany, and they came back from a major disadvantage and a hole. They started in a 6-foot hole and dug their way out of that and kicked the shit out of the most technologically advanced society on earth. And everybody goes, oh, well, we didn't do shit. We occupied the Japanese and the Italians while the Russians beat the shit out of the Germans. But, they would have won. Germany would have won if they hadn't started a war with Russia. They would have eventually taken over England. We couldn't have stopped them. Not by ourselves, certainly not. We didn't have the capability of stopping Germany if they'd actually finished taking over the continent of Europe without Russia. But the point being, we're getting ready to start. All right, we're already fighting in Ukraine. Well, I mean, proxy, whatever you want to call it. We're already kind of at a Cold War with China. All right. And now they want to go get involved in Venezuela, which is funny. He made some tweet or said something about, we've got the biggest armada. Yeah, and your big armada is probably surrounded by Russian and Chinese nuclear subs right now. They're probably just sitting there watching your lovely armada, itching, waiting for the leaders to go, yeah, let us they're all right there, all together. Let us just take them all out. It's just why they're doing this. And the other thing is, look, this illusion that it's about drugs, come on, man. Nobody's buying that. I mean, just tell us. Just tell us what it is. If it's either oil or it turns out that Venezuela's apparently got some issue with Israel. And I guess maybe they just recognize Palestine or something as well. I mean, there's definitely, other than the oil, there could be some other reasons, but it's certainly not drugs. I mean, that's just the biggest joke. Anyway, any thoughts on Venezuela you'd like to share?
It could also be just simply for strategic value. Therefore, it's the northernmost tip of South America, and that kind of helps you get the Gulf of, whether you want to call it the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, but that gets you on the north and the south of both of those.
Well, it's absolutely strategic. I mean, if Venezuela falls in the hands of Russia and China, it's not good. It's definitely not good. But it's not like we're doing anything to help stop that. We've been fucking with them for, since back in like the Obama days. Weren't they talking about, messing with Venezuela back then? It's like, look, I get it. You don't want, what's that?
I don't remember that.
Well, maybe not be that. Might not be that far back. But I mean, basically, when Trump is saying they stole our oil, what he's saying is that we used to have an oil company there. I forget what they were called. But basically, they nationalized oil. So they took the oil company, said, all right, you belong to us now. Now you're a Venezuelan government company, and you're not a company anymore. We're going to keep all the money. That's what started the whole issue with Venezuela. And because they went, basically, that's what they call going socialist. If a country says, look,
right.
We're tired of you taking all
so
our
that's
stuff.
like the same thing that happened with Britain and Iran, where they built up the oil company infrastructure.
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we've been messing with them for a while, driving them into the arms of Russia and China. So it's like, yeah, it's not a good thing. But they're definitely not doing anything to reverse what they've been doing. So, I don't know. Just doesn't seem smart to me, but All kinds of, I mean, there's like two or three people that are actually talking about smart stuff in Washington, and one of them is actually funny because I even posted this I think today on Facebook. I said, look, you know the ticket I want to see in 28, Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna. Then you can't get any party bickering. You got one from each party, you know, and they're at least guys that are looking to make the government more transparent, and less hiding all this bullshit they're doing. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so what did you think about the marijuana thing?
I'm so glad you brought it up. I've been waiting to talk about it this whole episode, but I wanted to let you run with whatever you had. It's an amazing. I'm really, really happy to see it, and I've thought about the. Well, that's why I'm going to bring up. There is reasons to care. For one thing, if you're involved, well, first of all, what we're talking about, Trump signed an executive order to fast track the rescheduling of marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3.
So he can't just do it? He has to beg them to do it?
Essentially, he has to beg them to do it. So Biden had already started this back in 2022.
Right. Yeah, he promised to make weed legal.
But he essentially lit no real fire under their ass, to put it, to coin a phrase. But Trump apparently is, and trying to expedite the process. Even expedited, it could take, I would say, 2 to 3 years, optimistically. But it will change a lot of different things. Now, the one thing, obviously, that it will change immediately is the whole gun ownership, meaning that anybody in possession of a medical marijuana card would then legally be allowed to purchase a gun and or own guns that they had purchased previously that they may have had to put in storage or give to a relative or something, because once you get the medical card, to try to buy a new gun, you have to perjure yourself because of that one little question on the form that they make you fill out. But I did not think about some of these other things, which are both good and bad. One is, I think it's going to really affect the legality of recreational marijuana in the states that have it as recreational. All right. So the way it stands right now, I mean, as a Schedule 1 drug federally, it's completely illegal. And the federal government has just basically kind of agreed to not enforce that. They could at any point if they wanted to. Right. They could just crack down on it, but they have just chosen not to. But by rescheduling it to a Schedule 3, which puts it in the same category as drugs like Percocet, ketamine, anabolic steroids, things like that, I don't see how states are going to get away with selling it recreationally when it's been destigmatized medically to the point where they can then have a full medical program and comply with federal law. So I have a feeling people with medical cards, it probably won't affect very much, but I think in states where it's recreational, there might be a legal hurdle there for them to get over.
Yeah, interesting.
Now, as far as the businesses, the dispensaries themselves, the growers, all this sort of thing, it's going to make a tremendous difference to them. Now, obviously, no pun intended, it's always been a cash crop. But
right.
because of its illegality in the federal structure, the IRS does not allow for tax exemptions for things like property usage and, you know what I mean? Like all the things that a normal business would write off on their taxes or claim in their taxes will now be able to be claimed in their taxes. And that's a pretty big deal. Now, a bad thing, I think, is that it's going to open it. Schedule 1, one of the things about Schedule 1 is that the criteria is that the government considers it to have no medical use, right? It's only for experimental whatever, which, again, how 40 states managed to get it medically passed without that is beyond me. But once it's become a Schedule 3, it will open up the research availability. And a lot more companies, big pharma, unfortunately, will be experimenting with things they can do and create from cannabinoids. So I would not be surprised to see literal big pharma commercials on TV for pill form versions or whatever versions of marijuana that, don't take and don't do this or don't do that.
Many, many questions about that. First of all, I would be highly surprised if Big Pharma isn't already doing whatever the fuck kind of experiments they want and have something already ready to go and ready to roll out, just like you're talking about. But also, are you saying that steroids are a Schedule 3 drug?
Absolutely.
No shit. Can't you just go buy them from like GNC or something?
You're not supposed to be able to. There's been loopholes used and under the counter sales and all that kind of shit. But no, they
And
are a
ketamine? Can't you
prescription
just go buy
medication.
ketamine now?
Absolutely not.
Huh.
I mean, in the sense that you can go buy it from a guy on the street, yes,
Yeah,
and always,
no, but I
yes,
thought there
but
were like,
no,
I thought you could go into like a dispensary or something. Well, not a dispensary per se, but yeah, I guess maybe it would have to be from a dispensary. But
no.
anyway,
And you know what's funny too? Like, so for example, Percocet is a Schedule 3 drug. Percocet is a combination of oxycodone and acetaminophen or Tylenol. And if you take the acetaminophen away from it, if you make it just an oxycodone pill, it becomes a Schedule 2.
oh, that's
For
hilarious.
some reason, combining an analgesic or an NSAID or an
Makes it knocks it
anti-inflammatory
down to
with
category.
it reduces it down one in its scheduling.
So what's my
So
Synthroid?
yeah,
Is my Synthroid Schedule 3?
Synthroid is probably a 4, but it might be 3
I
because
can't get
Synthroid
it
has literally
without a
Synthroid has
prescription.
literally no potential for abuse. There's no
Yeah, I can't get it
nobody's ever
without a
been hooked on
prescription though.
Synthroid.
Yeah,
But yes, but the reason
ridiculous.
you can't get it without a prescription is because it has the potential to be damaging if you took it unknowingly or thought it was going to do something. You know, like you need a doctor to give it to you.
Yeah, but it wouldn't.
But
Be,
it's not
it
a. I
wouldn't be
would say
damaging.
probably a 4.
Oh, speaking of damaging, I just saw a funny ass meme on Facebook, and there's this guy talking to this chick, and he's like, "Yeah, you're looking really good. So what are you doing? Like, are you on the Ozempic?" And she's like, "No, crack. Just crack. It's clean. It's healthy. It's And I was there. It made me think.
Yeah.
I'm like, crack is actually probably better for you than Ozempic.
Yeah, if you have the money, you're going to lose
Yeah.
weight either way. Why not have a good time while you're doing it?
Right. And of course, by crack, we were basically could mean any form of cocaine. Would definitely. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
I know. People that have definitely lost a lot of weight on cocaine, on purpose. With this express purpose of like, yeah, I'm just going to do a lot of coke so I lose some weight.
Yeah, I'm going on a summer Coke diet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing that meme
So,
would pop up and like, yeah, Ozempic is definitely worse for you than. And as a matter
so I
of
had
fact,
a thought about. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, and now that Trump has declared fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction, I was like, boy, you guys are going to really be begging for that weapon of mass destruction when it's time for your hip replacement.
Right. Yeah, because that's a Schedule 2.
It's so stupid, the whole fucking thing. Anyway, what were you going to say?
The last thing I wanted to point out about, the last thing I thought of as far as ramifications of the rescheduling of marijuana from 1 to 3 is, so frequently when I'm traveling to another state or whatever, I get nervous about taking my medicine with me, medicine that was prescribed for me by a Florida doctor in good standing with the state of Florida. But once you take it into Georgia, you're now committing a crime. That will no longer be the case. And once it is rescheduled to a Schedule 3, I can see no legal reason why you should not be allowed to fly with it within the United States. If you have a card and a prescription, you know what I mean? Like you can't just fly around with a stack of it, but it's at that point, it is no longer federally illegal. And now the question is, the first guy that tests that theory, once all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and it is Schedule 3, you think they're going to end up getting arrested by the TSA and go to court and have to set a
how are they going
precedent
to
for it?
find
Because
it? I mean, as it is now,
when they scan your bag, they're going to see it.
I know people that
That's
fly
how they're
with
gonna
weed
find
all
it.
the time. They don't get caught. I don't know how they do it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I've never even bothered to try.
The whole thing I think is kind of hilarious because I was having this debate with our buddy Mike that loves to not show up to the show, and he was making some point about drugs, and I'm like, look, this is a perfect example of why the federal government is truthfully powerless if you want them to be. Clearly, the whole country has said, look, weed being illegal is stupid. We're not going to enforce that law anymore. We don't care what you guys in Washington say. We're not doing it. It's stupid. So it's like, look, we could do that with so many federal laws if we really wanted to, of people just going, look, that law is just stupid. We're not doing it. We're not going to enforce that law. We're going to be a state where we say, no, that's just stupid. We're not doing it. But
right.
People just, oh, no, but it's law. You got it. No. Well, okay, if you say so, whatever. Anyway.
That's funny. I was exempted from jury duty once for basically that very same thing. I'd made it through the portion the initial portion or whatever, and where and the judge says to the room of assembled potential jurors, is there any reason why any of you would not uphold a law that was proven in this court? And of course, I being a smartass, I raised my hand and like, yes sir, you. And I said, well, what if it's a law that I wholeheartedly disagree with or think is unjust?
Oh yeah, we've had this conversation.
And he goes, yeah. So you're saying there's beliefs or whatever you have outside of the legal system? And I said, absolutely, I do. Doesn't everybody?
Yeah, right.
Like, I was accused, and I don't think I've ever been called for it again since.
Right.
I essentially suggested jury nullification without saying those words to the, in front of the judge or in front of the potential jurors.
Are you still a registered voter?
Indeed.
Oh well, then you could get called. But yeah, I wonder if they even put a note in your forever file. Don't bother calling this guy for. But back to
because neither side once you say something like that, you're not good for the defense or the prosecution.
I mean, and I haven't been called in a long time, but every time I've ever gotten called for jury duty, the only thing is like as soon as you get there, just hurry up and call my name so I can get in front of somebody and go, yeah, you don't want me, and so they can send me home because it's just so easy to get out.
I didn't even say that. Like it wasn't a deliberate statement.
No, you don't have to. No. All you have to do
honestly replied to the question.
Right. Well, you were even talking to a judge, not even the lawyers, because usually as soon as the lawyers ask you a question, all you got to do is demonstrate to them that you ain't changing your mind. That's it. It doesn't matter what your mind is. It doesn't matter which side of even if you're right in the middle, if you go, look, this is how I feel and I'm not changing my mind, he's out. If you're not moldable, they don't want you. But back to the big pharma thing, I wanted to kind of relate that to something we talked about on the phone the other day. We, as much as we can't stand Brett Weinstein that much, he was on Joe Rogan and he brought up the fact that he says he and Charlie Kirk were working on getting the COVID vaccine pulled off the market. He says Charlie Kirk had the president's ear and they were working on getting the vaccine pulled. So there's another couple of $1 billion worth of reasons for somebody to kill him. So, another layer of conspiracy you could lay in for Candace to look into.
Right. I just saw an article pop up on my phone while I was just like 30 minutes ago while I was waiting for the Zoom call to start. And it shouldn't surprise you, but I guess Turning Point USA via Erica Kirk has officially endorsed J.D. Vance for president 2028.
Oh, yeah, of course. Did you see that there's a poll that just said that AOC will beat him?
No.
Yeah, somebody
Is that
just
like
came
the
out.
Same poll that said Kamala was assured victory. Was that the thing?
No, I don't think so. I think this was actually a more reputable poll. But they were like, if right now, if AOC and JD Vance ran, AOC would win. Who knows? Who cares? I don't want to see either one of them run. I wouldn't vote for either one of them. Yeah, that's crazy. What was the other crazy shit going on? I had one other thing written down. Oh, the other thing is I swear to God, Dana White, if you're watching, Roseanne Barr and Nick Fuentes, this is a debate that I want to see. I want to see him either in person or even if it's on Zoom, if it has to be. But anyway, and it's a funny thing about the supposedly Candace and Erica met in person just like a day or two ago or something like that. You heard about that, right?
I did.
Well,
for like hours, right?
I guess, yeah. And it's funny because you have all these people, claiming, oh, that means this and that means this, and neither of them have. Well, Erica, I haven't heard say a word since then. Candace, on the other hand, is doing a show, saying the same old shit. So at some point, you have to go, I think Candace must have won that one because why, Erica's not coming out doing a victory lap or anything, and Candace is certainly not shutting up. She's saying the same exact stuff she said before. So I don't know. And
she's always saying that she has evidence that she's about to drop, but then it seems like she never does.
Oh, yeah, right. Here's some evidence. 904-549-20994. What's the last four? 9026. No, 9024.
904-549-9024.
There we go. Yeah, I got it. Anyway. Yeah, but that's...
There is no 6 anywhere in the number.
No kidding. Oh, wow. I'm just making up 6s, huh? Crazy. Yeah, but I don't know. The whole thing that look, I can't like we talked about on the other episode. It's just like, look, I could understand if she was saying stuff like Charlie was a bad guy, this or that, or even the people at TPUSA are bad people. She's not. She's just saying, look, they're saying things that don't line up, that don't make sense, that don't. Somebody's lying, and clearly somebody is. So the fact that she's pointing that out and getting so much flack from, that just screams of, thou doth protest too much. All she's doing is looking to find out what happened. I don't know. Anyway, what else we got to talk about?
She is, but at the same time, she's creating content and trying to make
of course,
and it bleeds, it leads. She's trying to be salacious. She's
absolutely.
trying to get an audience.
Well, and it's not only is it working, they're almost handing it to her on a silver platter. I mean, she wouldn't have the number one podcast if there were no questions about Charlie Kirk's death. I mean, if Charlie Kirk was, if the guy actually had proof, and she'd be just the same old Candace Owens. They're the ones that made her famous. So I don't know.
Well, Macron.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, just the whole, the amount, when people start really realizing the amount that these elites and oligarchs in all these different countries are so intertwined and salaciously invested in each other. That's the whole thing with the Epstein file is, that's going to bring the whole system down. You're going to see there's a whole class of people that clearly not only thinks, but knows they're above the law. Those laws are for the poor people. We don't have to worry about that stuff. So,
those connections used to be more visibly apparent when it was strictly familial. Like if you think back to World War I, it was essentially three cousins all fighting each other. Like,
yeah,
Germany, England, and was it Russia?
And they weren't right, and they weren't pretending like, oh yeah, no, we're just like you guys. No, they were like, no, we're royalty. We're much better people than all you peasants.
Right.
just go back to the honesty. That's all I'm asking for. Just go back to being honest. Yeah.
Well, that's what they say. That's where we're headed. We're going. We got out of original feudalism, and now we're going into techno feudalism, where it'll be the handful of techno giants that pretty much are our lords.
And speaking of one of their
Chad
puppets,
will have another breakdown wherever he is.
So I guess Ben Shapiro was speaking at, I think, the TPSU or some event, and he was making the claim that wait a minute. What did he say? Oh, only cowards. God, I can't read my own writing. Hold on. Oh, only cowards promote conspiracy theories. So, what about JFK? I mean, that's a conspiracy theory that turned out to actually be a conspiracy. So, who was the coward, pushing that conspiracy theory for what, 60 years now, 62 years? So that guy was a coward. Whoever was pushing it, it's just like, do these people even listen to what they're saying before they say it? It's like, what are you saying? You fucking idiots. I don't know. And then also, I don't know if you saw did you see I guess it was, I don't know what they were doing. It was Trump doing something in the White House, but he had Miriam Adelson up there pledging to give him another $250 million if he runs again.
No.
Oh, God. And then they had Mark Levin comes up there and just like puts his arm around Trump and is like fucking manhandling him, like shaking him around, going, "This is the best. This is our first Jewish president." He actually said that. He actually said that. Oh, it's crazy. These people. I mean, it's just,
can never stand guys that like to do that, like the ones that like to grab you by the shoulders and backslappers and.
Well, apparently Trump's real bad at that. He does the pull in with the handshake, supposedly. Remember, I don't know if you ever heard the Joe Rogan story where he usually he says Joe Rogan says the first time he met Trump, he was ready. He was ready for the pull in and he didn't get him. But he says the second time he wasn't ready and he got him. He pulled him over a table or something. Like, Jesus. That you have to, exert like your territorial pissings.
The guys that shake hands way too hard, they don't pull you in, but they try to literally crush the bones in your hand. Like, what are you doing, man? And the reverse is almost just as bad too. The dead fish hand.
Oh yeah.
You just get the dead fingers. There's an acceptable way to do this.
Well, it's so, shaking hands is so old fashioned. I'm surprised people even do it anymore. Now it's fist bump or whatever.
Yeah, it is old fashioned. I still prefer it to all the other though.
Yeah, I find myself doing it every once in a while. I shook Ryan's hand when I got here.
I don't. Did I tell the story on the pod, or did I just tell you in person about the Scottish guy at the bar when I was with my dad, who's making fun of him for having a purse?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
So my dad used to have this. I have it now. It's a really cool leather purse.
Right.
I mean, there's no other word for it. That's what it is.
Right.
But it looks almost identical to the Indiana Jones bag. Like that's got all like straps and buckles and shit. And fucking sweet. So he used to carry it and keep his wallet, phone, and whatnot in it. We're at a brewery once in Charlotte, North Carolina. And his purse is sitting on the bar. He went off to the bathroom, and as I'm sitting there, the guy like maybe 2 or 3 stools down, who was pretty drunk already and very Scottish, he goes, "Can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Is that a purse?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess it is." And he goes, "And that belongs to a man?" And I said, "Yeah, it's my dad's purse." And he goes, "Your dad has a purse?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Is your dad a homosexual?" And I said, I don't know. I said, at least not once. He's got me, right? So my dad comes out of the bathroom, and we're pretty much settling up our tab or whatever. And this guy still, wants to engage or whatever. And he says something to my father, like, "We were just talking about your purse," and I asked him if his father's a homosexual. And yeah, and so my dad shakes his hand, and as he's shaking his hand, he goes, "You want to know something funny?" And the guy goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "I didn't wash my hands." And hopefully he had washed them and they were a little wet from the sink still or whatever. Right. But I like to think he had a couple of droplets on his hands when he shook this guy's hand. What a great comeback.
I got to say, the best line I heard from anybody in Europe is when my dad and I guess I think it was when I was over there with him at a wedding, but my dad was over there and asked for like a bourbon or something like that. And they gave him a bourbon and he goes, "Oh no, I want it over ice." And he goes, "We spent 20 years getting the water out of it and you want to put it back in." Apparently that's the whole process of bourbon or scotch or whatever the hell they make over there, to get the water out. Then now you want to put it back in. Anyway.
Right. Maybe just put it in a chilled glass instead.
Yeah. That's probably a better idea.
Or one of those, those plastic ice cube, whatever, forever cubes. If you wanted to make them classy, they could make those out of glass too, but there's always the danger of a little glass chip in your drink.
Yeah.
I don't know. They could probably make them pretty safe. They can make pretty safe glass now.
That's true. But yeah, that's not a bad idea though. Instead of ice, just like a frozen piece of glass or whatever. That would almost do the same exact thing.
Pretty sure they already have that in a plastic form, but I feel like that's kind of not very classy. You know what I mean? Well, then you're drinking some super expensive liquor. You're not want to touching plastic ever.
Wow, you just maxed headroom out there for a second. That was weird. You got a little. Yeah. Anyway, and what else we got? All right, so we got Christmas coming up, then New Year's. Are you going to be back for New Year's?
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm only gone for a week, so I'll be back on the 28th. In fact, I think we have a show the day after I come back, and I believe we have a show scheduled for New Year's or for New Year's Eve. We have a show on the.
Isn't that like the day after? If you're coming back the 28th. Yeah, I only see it. I'm sure
we'll have the 28th. We have one on the 29th, and then I think we have one more after that. But again,
there's only a day or two left in the year after that, though. How could we have? I don't think
I'm aware, but there was an opening, so I think I got it.
Is that not on the email that I have?
Again, I'll have to check, but I think it is on your email. I think the last one is 12/31.
Is that the one on Wednesday? Because I know the last one this year is on a Wednesday.
Yes, I believe it is, and I believe that is the date.
But I don't think the one before that is just a couple of days. It's like a week before that, isn't it?
Hang on. I'm going to tell you.
Well, you're doing one from Ohio.
I'm doing 2 from Ohio.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
I will be doing one Friday on the 26th. I'm coming back on the 28th, and then we do one on the 29th, which is a Monday, and then we do one 2 days later on the Wednesday, which is the last day of this
Oh,
year.
okay. All right. Yeah, you're right. All right. Yeah, I guess. Wow.
And that one
We're gonna have to.
on New Year's Eve is at 1 p.m. We're
Right.
gonna be
Right.
down there at 1.
We're gonna have to come up with a lot of content in 2 days, unless we get a
It's true.
guest or something. I was this close to having us a guest today too.
Really? It was it Mike?
No, no. I don't even know if I want to even try to get him on anymore. He's just, after twice of like, I don't know.
I don't know. I think you should, because easy content. We could spend the first 10 or 20 minutes just ripping on them for missing so many.
That's true. That's true. Truthfully,
He gets 10 minutes to defend himself, and that's half the show, man.
Yeah, you're right. But truthfully, one of the things I want to talk to him about is he says he's a vet. I didn't even never realize he was a vet. I would like to talk to him about his vet career, or his military career, or
Ask him
whatever he did.
what he's going to do with his $1,776.
Oh,
did you see that?
I thought that was just current military. That's vets.
I believe
too?
I
wow.
do believe so.
Good for them.
Anybody, yeah.
Oh, good for them. Good for them. No, I want to know. All right, so we discussed this a little before, but I want to know if he realized the indoctrination process. Like if you and I were to, if we got drafted, say, because neither one of us would ever sign up for the Army or anything, but if we got drafted and we had to go through boot camp, we would know what they're trying to do. We would know how to navigate and get through without being indoctrinated. I mean, they're certainly going to try to, and they could even possibly succeed in breaking us down to our base of, like they do in basic training. But even you and I
we'd be aware it was happening.
Exactly. And therefore, it can't possibly work on us. I mean, they could try all they want. It's not going to work. But that's what I want to know is, like, if while he was in basic training, do you realize that you're being indoctrinated and you just agree with it, or do you just not realize it? I don't know. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
And also, I'd like to ask him, did you notice a difference in others? Did you see others that took to it differently than you did?
Yeah.
Or,
and I'm wondering if that's what actually could get you washed out, is if they figure out this guy's not indoctrinatable. Let's just get him out of here.
Right. Same reason you get washed out of the jury if you can't be convinced of something.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, you're absolutely right.
There was something else I wanted to say. Oh, that's right. 904-549-9024.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just start firing them out randomly.
Yeah, and at least at least we got some comments that we could discuss. That was finally good, even though they're seemed to be a bit in the opposition of the way we feel. Obviously, well, the way I feel anyway. But yeah, that's just so funny.
I think we did also, though, point out some some legitimate grievances that they might have.
Yeah, I mean, look, laws are great, but show me the victim. If there's no victim, I got no respect for your stupid law. And it can't be. And this is funny because I get into the same debate with Mike, and we were talking about the fact that he spent 30 days in jail. Because we were talking about, I forget what it was, something about being in jail. And I'm like, I've only spent overnight a couple of times. He's like, he was in jail for 30 days. And I was like, oh, really? How many victims? And he started laughing, LOL. And he's like, turns out he spent 30 days in jail for like 2 DWIs or something. No victims. And he doesn't, seem to think there's a problem with that. I'm like, dude, for somebody to spend 30 days in jail and not even have any victim to show about it. I asked him, I said, look, you should demand to see your minority report. I think their precogs are wrong. I don't think they know that you're going to create future victims. That's just ridiculous. That it just doesn't make any sense to me. But he was like, like it wasn't a big deal. Like, I just spent 30 days in jail for not hurting anybody. Well, why wouldn't you not be pissed off about that? I would be. That's ridiculous. Anyway. I don't know. And that's where I guess maybe the indoctrination worked. I guess. I don't know.
Possibly.
Anyway. Maybe we can indoctrinate a whole generation of slack doctors. Get him to stop working so damn hard for nothing. Anyway. Well, I'm about out of stuff to talk about. How about you? You got anything else?
It seems like a pretty good place to stop, except for the fact that we got to say one more time, 904-549-9024. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and definitely call us and leave us a message.
And leave more comments. Yeah, and not only just leave us a message, you can tell us a story, tell us some jokes, tell us give us your problems. We'll solve any problem you have, whatever it is.
Yeah, ask us a question, leave us a comment, tell us a joke.
Yeah, tell us how much we suck. Whatever you want to, we'll leave whatever kind of messages or
sing
comments
a little song if you like.
Exactly. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.